of us are just different. We hold something inside that is just unfathomable for most people. And that's not to sound egotistical or like we're better than anybody else. It's just the truth that we've come to accept. And no matter where we go, it seems like the same scenario keeps playing over and over and over again. People just misunderstand us, misconstrue our words, get offended by our energy and our eccentricity. And they don't understand why we're so eccentric. And it's because our way of communication is mainly spiritual. We can sense things, we can feel things. If your energy doesn't match your words, we're not interested in pursuing a conversation. So they might even think you're bipolar, they just think you're moody, they just think you're rude. But what it really is that you don't even need to hear what they're saying because you can feel it. And once you know the truth, then you don't want to hear the lies. So, and it's not to be rude or discount anybody's attempt to connect with you or anything, but when people and you sense that they don't have the best intentions or best motives towards you, it kind of drives you to silence. And it seems it's more of a self-preservation tactic than trying to be rude. And as you become more aware of this, you learn how to handle it gracefully. But sometimes when you're not too aware of what's really happening, you tend to shut down. And people look at it as rude because they're like, why isn't this person sharing information? Because in your reality, you feel everything. Everything is present. Nobody hides anything from you. You can feel it all. If you're around the same group of people for a long time, you can sense who is there and who isn't. And you can feel things. Like you can feel people's energy. You can feel whatever they're going through. Like most people won't even believe this, but it's the truth for people like us. And you get tired of trying to explain it, and you can't explain it. To most people, it sounds crazy, and they'll think you're delusional. They'll think you're making things up. But from a child, you felt this. From a child, you felt so much. And as a kid, you didn't even know how to deal with it. You didn't even know how to process it. So you may have been just the quiet kid who observed everything and everybody overlooked you. And that created a wound in itself because everybody needs connection. But since you were so quiet and you felt everything so deeply and you didn't feel the need to really talk, people didn't talk to you, or they just didn't see you, or they overlooked you. So that just became who you are. That kind of developed a program within you that made you feel like you're just overlooked, and it manifests in all of your actions around you. And it also plays a role in how people treat you because it's how you treat yourself. You kind of stay out of the way. But as you get older or as you get more mature in that gift, you do realize that connection is important, but the energy must be safe. And when you come across people whose energy is safe to you, then you do connect and you do try to reach out. But it's very uncommon for people's energy to match their words these days. You realize that most people are performative and they're delivering marketing skills in their interactions with people. It's not even really to connect, just to sell yourself to somebody, to make you feel like you're important, and make you feel likable, or make you feel like, oh, you want these people to feel like you're somebody who they can like and who they can be around. Nobody likes to feel like they don't belong a place. So they're going to put on their best marketing performance. They have the whole presentation available, and it's called small talk. And for those of us who feel everything spiritually, that is redundant because all of that performance doesn't mean anything because we see all the way through it. We already know who you are. We already feel everything about you. And usually it's not a bad thing. We don't sense bad things like you're just a bad person, but we see your desperation to be liked, or your desperation to connect, or your desperation to be accepted and to belong. And that's how most people operate, honestly. And for those of us who don't have that wiring, we are the oddballs. We are the ones who stand out. We're the ones who people side eye because we're not the conventional humans. And that makes people uncomfortable because they can't read you and you're not appeasing to their ego, because most people are really like trying to satiate somebody's ego by performing and saying, okay, am I worthy of you liking me? But you're not doing that. So these people are feeling like there's something wrong with me. Why don't they like me? Why aren't they doing this? And that's, to me, that is what leads to this narcissistic mindset. People always want to label you as the narcissist, the people who are the outsiders, because they feel like you're not conforming to what they want. Therefore, you must think you're better than other people, like you're above the program, like you're too good to conform. But that is not the case at all. It's just that we already feel everything, so we feel it's redundant to perform. But the people who are offended by your nature have a mindset that their way is the way. And that is the way everybody should be. And if you're not like that, something's wrong with you. Therefore, you should be investigated. You should be targeted. You should be treated terribly because you're not conforming. And that is how all of that negativity happens. They get people to turn on you. They start talking about you. They start speaking negative against you, all because you did not stroke their ego. And you suddenly become the bad person. You suddenly become the one who's the problem. And we feel this. Nothing is a secret for us. Not one thing. And from day to day, you can sense it. And their whole energy towards you is just off. And you didn't know you didn't do anything. That's why, like, as somebody who walks in a spiritual way or communicates spiritually, that's why sometimes people get thrown off. Or you might seem moody, or you might seem distant, because some people, they try to insinuate, or they conjure up this idea of you in their head. Because if you're not giving things verbally, if you're not freely giving details about your life, they start filling in the gaps with their imagination. So they have determined that because of this and that about you, then this must be true. So they'll in a roundabout kind of way, start talking about topics, trying to pull you in, thinking that they're helping you by bringing up these topics. They feel like they're addressing the things that are plaguing you or concerning you. And you can feel that intention, like they're doing it. Some people might do it maliciously, and some people might legit be thinking that that is your problem and trying to help you. And if you're unhealed in a way, you might be triggered because you feel like, this person really thinks this of me? How could they think this about me? And that triggers you to react to their assumptions and their imaginations. And that might seem bipolar because it seems like it's out of left field, but you read everything they were up to and you allowed it to trigger you and become offended by it, and then display visible anger upset or disappointment at the way this person came at you. So it could seem like you're unstable, but what it really is, it's like you're reading everything that all of people's intentions you can sense, and you have to heal that part of you. If you're going to be energetically in tuned, you cannot be triggered by people's imaginations. That's why it's important to cast down imaginations and things that are not true. Things that you know that aren't true, even if people might assume it, or they might feel it's true, or they might try to project it onto you. You cannot allow those things to trigger you because it's not true. And that is warfare. That is spiritual warfare that is being used against your spiritual gifts. And you have to mature in your gifts enough to know when there is warfare on the table to affect you. And throughout my life, God had my life set up to be perfect. Like, if I had just taken heed to what He had set before me and just been obedient in that, my life would have been perfect. It would have turned out great. But I veered off path because I was unhealed and I was not grounded spiritually. And I decided to do things that were not within His will. And I just stepped out of His will in a way that led me down a path that was full of lessons. And on that path, I started to have people in my life who went totally against. They were the opposite of the people who God placed in my life. And they were people who caused me to doubt myself, who kind of eroded my sense of self altogether. And it dimmed my light. It weakened my spiritual connection. And it caused me to question everything. And it wasn't until I went through like the worst experiences in my life where I was completely isolated and only had God to depend on that I realized that it was all spiritual warfare. And that's why a lot of time God allows stuff to happen so that we can draw nearer to Him and we can see who He really is. We can see who He really is to us and what resources He provides to us. And that for Him to be our source and our fighter and our protector, because we have to go to Him directly for assistance and for protection against the warfare that we experience from the people that those circumstances that we've created by being disobedient. We want to blame everybody else. We want to say this person did that, but why do you think those people ended up in your life? You took a wrong turn somewhere. And you have to take ownership of that. Granted, these people are horrible and despicable, but you have allowed them in your life through disobedience. So therefore, God allowed all of that to happen so that you can turn back to Him and realize that it is Him and only Him who gives you the desires of your heart, and you maintain those things through obedience. And if you don't, you're going to have an unsavory life with unsavory characters in your life. People who will never see you, who will never feel you, who will never understand you, who will constantly trigger you. All this warfare, all because you're being disobedient. And you have to really accept the isolation as an opportunity to get back grounded in Christ and get back grounded in your spiritual connection to God. And we'll get distracted. There'll be people who come into our lives who look just like what we pray for, and it'll feel like what we pray for, but it is not what God wanted for us. That whole thing becomes a testing ground where you tested every spiritual gift God gave you. You have to have the discerning of spirits. You have to have just discernment in general. You have to be able to test the spirits. You have to be able to cast down imaginations. You have to be able to walk in the fruits of the Spirit. You have to be able to use everything that God has instilled within you in order to survive those challenges. And it will seem like it's challenge after challenge after challenge because God was like, I laid it out so easy for you before, and you decided that you wanted to be disobedient. So now you got to work for it through lessons. You have to learn what it is to be obedient in order to regain what I have for you. You have to step back into obedience through the lessons that you learn from these negative experiences. And the hard part about that is the trauma, because trauma dysregulates your nervous system, which allows fear to be stuck in your body. And it creates a hard dynamic to overcome, because if something is within your body, hidden in your body, it's hard to remove it. It's hard to, you have to really ask God to help you through this and walk you through that, because the spiritual warfare doesn't stop. It just becomes irrelevant when you rise above it through obedience and through petition to God and through prayer and through fasting. Because I know during the time where I was immensely blessed by God and His will, I probably was experiencing so much warfare, but I was so focused on the positive that I did not even notice the negative. But once you're down in the dumps from disobedience, you've fallen from grace. It's like that's all you see. It's like you're in hell. Like you see all the demons that are in hell because that's where you are with them because you were disobedient. Heaven and hell happen in your lifetime. They don't just happen when you die. Like when you fall out of God's will from disobedience, you're in hell and you're experiencing hell. You're going to experience those demons that torture you and torment you because you decided to step out of God's will. And then especially if you've allowed people who were not meant to be in your life to enter your life and to infiltrate your spirit and your mind, you become entangled with these people and they infiltrate your spirituality, infiltrate your whole spirit, and you have to banish them through Christ. And do not even allow them to re-enter because the same thing will continuously happen if you do. But you have to be aware and be cognizant. Like, you're human. You're going to keep on falling and getting back up. You're going to keep on making the same mistakes and learning from them. But it is when you finally master being obedient, which means leaning on God for everything and not on your own power or might, not even depending on your own mind and emotions. Just trusting God, trusting what you can't see, believing what you can't see, feeling what you can't even see, because the truth is good. It's not fear-based. It's not bad. Nothing. God wants nothing bad for you. So if you're feeling all of this fear and all of this nervousness, that is not of God. You still have work to do to clear that out of your spirit and to keep trusting God. And if people are in your life and you feeling like you're gonna feel if their spirit is aligned with God. And if it's not, then do not take advice from anybody who's not aligned with God. Do not even allow that to infiltrate your mind or spirit. You can fraternize with these people if you have to, you know what I'm saying? But that does not mean that you have to invite them into your mental space, into your spiritual space, because these people do not mean you well. And I don't even think they intentionally mean to harm you, but they're not in alignment with God's will for your life. And sometimes you're going to be triggered by the words they're saying because their spirit doesn't match yours. It'll really feel like you're just in a whole different dimension, like you're in a whole alternate universe until you step back into obedience and step back into the will of God for your life. Get back into alignment. And you're going to go in and out of that for a while because it's a process. But the bottom line is, for those of us who feel more than we talk, for those of us who walk into a room and we can just sense all the energetic activity within that vicinity. When you're being tested and you're going through all this, it's like all of your gifts are heightened, like every last one of them. And it can cause you to feel anxious because you're not understanding what is happening, what you're feeling. That's when you finally realize that it's from God and it's Him trying to show you things spiritually and get you back in alignment. That's when you have more peace about it and you start to use it with wisdom. But you're still human and you're still learning. You still got to figure out what to entertain and what not to entertain. You know, and the people around you, I'm telling you, people who are not in alignment with God, they are going to be easily used as warfare. Easily. And they don't even know it. They don't even know what they're doing. And that's what we battle, not against flesh and blood. So you cannot fault these people. You cannot blame them. You cannot treat them like they're the enemy because it's not them. They have no idea what's happening. And you can, like, sometimes I can just feel it. Like, I can just feel like the shift of this, something happened within them. And you can just say, okay, now they finna say something or they finna do something. And you already know is coming, and it happens, and you're like, okay, I already knew that, so you don't get triggered by it. You can feel the shift, and you can feel the energy of somebody who's being used. You can feel it. And that's the weird part about it, because who can you tell this to? Like, you can't even tell anybody around you about this, because they're going to think you're crazy. But it never fails. You can feel the shift. You can feel when they're about to switch up. You can feel that they have ill intentions. You can feel that they're up to something in the spiritual realm. And it becomes so obvious over time. It's really like it feels so heavy, like a heavy burden. Like, why do I have to have this? Why does this have to be me? Why do I have to go through this? And a lot of times you're placed in these situations until you master what it takes to have peace through it all. You master the peace of God. And another thing, I saw something about somebody was like, they're tired of seeing sad Christians, because we have to realize that it's the joy of the Lord that should make us joyful and happy, which is true, but at the same time, if you are somebody who feels everything, you're going to grieve humanity, because you just feel just what's in people's hearts. You just feel, and it's not, like I said, we battle not against flesh and blood, but if only they knew what was happening. You can talk to people in the face, and some people really think that they are close to God and close to God, but they still have the hatred in their heart. They still have the envy in their heart. They still have the nefarious intentions in their minds and hearts. And you can feel it, you can sense it, and it's there. And even you sometimes might even fall prey. I try my hardest not to allow that into it, but I know there are times where I'm not perfect and it still enters me. And I still just have to cast it out and just pray. And I might separate myself temporarily, or just might go quiet. And people might get offended, but I have to reground myself in God. Like, I'm not perfect. And I try my best not to project things on the people, which I am guilty of even recently. I let things come out of my mouth that I instantly regret, because my aim is to love people as Jesus loves us. And I'm not perfect. I don't want to seem perfect. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to be God or Jesus. I'm just trying to do right, And if I can't, I feel like in the moment I can't, I will separate myself. I will go into isolation, because I do not want to harm anybody. And I think in a way that might seem to harm somebody, and they might be offended. But it's out of love. It's out of love for them and respect for Jesus that I do not want to cause somebody harm through my words and actions, or even my energy. So if I don't feel right, then I'm going to stay away. And that's out of love. And I genuinely love everybody. Everybody on this earth, like even the people that everybody want to hate and talk bad about, because I know God created them, and He did not create them with evil in them. We all have light and dark and free will. That's the thing. And if you don't choose the light, then the darkness will fill you. And that's what happens to people when they don't choose God or choose Jesus, is that they are filled with other things, because the enemy seeks someone to devour. And if you're not choosing Jesus, you're by default choosing to be devoured. And the people around you, you can tell when they're being devoured. You can feel it. Like, you can feel the shift. And that's the hardest part, is you can feel the shift. And that might cause you to unintentionally go quiet or unintentionally disengage, because you don't want to be triggered, or you don't want to somehow say something that disrupts the flow or comes off too strange or whatever. And I guess like the point is to get to a point where you can speak words of life, speak what Jesus would say, or give the energy of Christ to shift the atmosphere. And that is the ultimate goal. I guess that's how you perfect it all, is to eventually learn to shift the atmosphere with the Spirit of God. I struggle so much with just trying to exude the energy of God, because sometimes being quiet is not enough. People take that as rude sometimes, or they take that as you're not a team player, or you're not participating, or you're not getting to know people. But like when you feel everything, it's hard to trust. You don't trust people's words because it doesn't match their energy. Some people, they do. Some people are who they are, and they're through and through authentic. Like their energy matches their words and everything. Every now and then it might not, but everybody has their days where they're still just trying to fake it till they make it. But some people are who they say they are, and their words and energy match all the time. Well, consistently, not maybe here and there, but we're all human. And you question, like, well, God, why am I like this? Why did you make, like, what is the purpose? I can't even fit in. I can't even have friends. I can't have relationships. I can't have anything, because it is hard to connect with people when you feel already whatever they got going on. You feel everything. Whatever the purpose is for it, I guess I'll find out eventually. It's a lonely place. And people think you're delusional, and they think you're crazy. They don't understand it. If you've been this way your whole life, you know it's not a farce. You know that it's true. It's just only when you become more mature in it that you understand what is really happening. When you're a kid, you're confused, and you just feel different. And you just feel like you don't belong anywhere. But as you get older, you realize it's actually a spiritual gift. And even though you might not understand it or know why you have it or what's the purpose of it, you still have to put one foot in front of the other every day and try to believe God that He has a purpose for it all. And some days you don't feel that way. You don't feel hopeful for it, because you realize you just feel so rejected, dejected, misunderstood, and unloved. That's how you feel. And you feel like you'll never have people around you who can love you or can walk with you in your life, because you're on a spiritual journey that seems to repel people who, or just anybody in general, who can't feel you, and it's rare that people feel you. It's rare that people see you, and that's on purpose. But where do you go to have people see and feel you? Like, you pray for God to show you where your people are, where people are who can understand you.